May 12, 2015. 26 years have passed since SP-7551 East ran away down the grade at Cajon Pass before crashing into Duffy Street at San Bernardino. However, 26 years later, on the very same month and on the very same day, disaster will strike again. Amtrak 188, the Northeast Regional, was traveling from Washington, D.C. towards Boston South Station. The train came to a stop at Philadelphia's 30th Street Station to drop off and pick up more passengers before continuing on towards Boston South Station. The train would have to make a few more stops before going to New York for a crew change, where that crew would take charge of Amtrak 188 all the way up towards Boston South Station. The train is being powered by one of Amtrak's brand new locomotives, ACS 64 number 601, nicknamed the Splinter, which at that time was only a year old, so was still fairly new to the railroad. In command of Amtrak 188 was 32-year-old engineer Brendan Bossian, who had been working on the route for several weeks now. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any details about when he was hired by Amtrak, or what positions that he was in for Amtrak before he became engineer, but here's what I do know. He was a conductor before he eventually became engineer for Amtrak. If you guys have any info on when he was hired for Amtrak, or what positions he was in before he became a conductor, just let me know in the comments down below. Thank you. The train had 7 M Fleet cars with 238 passengers and a crew of 5, with a total of 243 people on board. At 9:10 p.m., Amtrak 188 departed Philadelphia with its next station stop, Trenton. CS-64s, or Amtrak City Splinter, is an electric locomotive designed by Siemens. Its testing began in 2013 before it entered passenger service in 2014. The ACS-64s can easily do 125 miles an hour, with Amtrak ACS-64-600 as the prototype, and this particular ACS-64 was named David L. Gunn, a former Transportation Safety Administrator. Later on, in 2014, Amtrak revealed its honorary ACS-64 veterans unit, Amtrak 642, and still continues to operate with Amtrak on this very day. In total, 70 of the ACS-64s were being built for Amtrak to replace the AEM-7s, followed by the HHP-8s. However, the HHP-8s will slowly come out of retirement to be brought back to service in a different way. You see, there has been reports on the HHP-8s to be acting as cat cars for the Keystone trains, with Amtrak HHP-8 number 9750 last spotted on the Keystone test train on the Northeast Corridor in New Jersey on February 6, 2024. Now before we jump to the accident itself, let's talk about what the Northeast Corridor should have been equipped with at that time. On September 12, 2008, Metrolink 111 collided head-on with a UP due to a Metrolink engineer missing a red signal, a topic best saved for another day. But the bottom line is, after the accident was the beginning of PTC, or Positive Train Control, with the deadline being installed on December 15, 2015. PTC, or Positive Train Control, are designed to prevent trains from doing a head-on collision, overspeeding, and among other things. You see, suggest that an engineer passed down the cab for some reason, wasn't paying attention to a signal, among other things, but the bottom line is, in case something is about to go wrong, PTC will kick in to warn the engineer that they will have seconds to act before PTC automatically stops the train. But despite some railroads receiving the deadline to install PTC, some lines from other railroads, including Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, was not equipped with PTC, nor met its deadline yet. Sadly, disaster was about to appear on May 12, 2015. If PTC was present on the Northeast Corridor at that time, then this accident would have been prevented. Now let's head back to the disaster itself. The next few minutes were uneventful. Passengers are settling in for the night. Some of them are sleeping, some of them about to sleep, some going to cafe for food. The conductors are collecting the passengers' tickets, and the engineer still wide awake, still concentrating. It was like nothing out of the ordinary. The first sign of trouble came a few minutes later when Brendan heard the SEPTA train was calling for help. The SEPTA engineer reported on the radio about a shattered windshield, after some people threw some rocks in the lead car, blinding the engineer. 188 was currently traveling at 80 miles an hour on the 80 mile per hour approach speed, and further up the line was a 50 mile per hour speed restriction curve. But Brendan was distracted for a moment while listening to the SEPTA engineer still calling for help, and it's at that moment that he thinks he already passed the curve, when in reality it was up ahead. So he sped his train from 80 miles per hour to 106 miles per hour. Brendan had no idea that he accidentally set the events of disaster in motion, and once he realized his mistake, he immediately applied the emergency brakes, but it was too little, too late. Amtrak 188 jumps the tracks and derails at 9:23 p.m. The ACS-64 was ripped away from its consors, and it was thrown towards a yard, barely missing tanker cars like kicking a soccer ball so hard, thus crushing the rails in the process like a bulldozer. And its pantograph was ripped clean off from the engine. The first Fleet car in the consors was wiped out and obliterated with occupants still trapped inside, like being picked up and destroyed by a tornado. Fleet cars 2 through 5 were flipped over on their right side but mostly intact, with car number 2 being ripped open by one of the catenary wire standers. And Fleet cars number 7 and 8 were the only cars in consors that did not derail. Let's go back to the first Fleet car in the consors for just a bit. That was totally destroyed and almost unrecognizable. A phenomenon that was once common in the 19th and the early 20th century when passenger cars were mostly made of wood, not stainless steel like these cars. The sounds of victims screaming soon filled the air. After several 911 calls were made, rescuers were on their way and soon arrived at that horrifying sight. When they arrived, they soon hauled away the seriously injured passengers. The lightly and the uninjured passengers also helped out. They worked several hours throughout the night until they rescued the last victim and recovered the last body. 7 people died instantly, and 1 more later died in the hospital. Over 200 were injured. 11 were serious. It has been said from one of the survivors that 4 people died after the 3rd car in the consors was flipped over on its side. Brendan was among the injured after suffering a nasty concussion after his head collided head-on with the locomotive's dashboard. Of course, this was not the first time a train derailed nearby that very same spot. In 1983, the Pennsylvania Railroad Congressional Limited derailed nearby the very same spot where 188 derailed, which resulted in the deaths of 79 people and injuring 119. If you're interested to watch that video, the link to the video will be in the description below. After the rescue operation was completed, the NTSB soon launches an investigation after the crash. They soon learned that the engineer was not smoking in the cab, was not on drugs, was not alcoholic, he was not on his cell phone, he had no attempts to commit suicide, he was just distracted by listening to a SEPTA train that was calling for help that night. So the NTSB revealed that the cause of the accident was loss of situational awareness. Although human error played a critical role in the accident, this accident was not a criminal act. In the end, Brendan was arrested on May 12, 2017, February 6, 2017, and in early 2022 for manslaughter and reckless endangerment, and was pleaded not guilty in all those charges. Okay, so I'm only going to say this once. As a human being with a disability, I know how it's like to be in that situation. Amtrak ACS 64601 was deemed damaged beyond repair. Looking back what happened just 26 years before this disaster, SP7551 East jumps the tracks and derailed. Now you have this disaster to deal with. But is May 12th actually cursed? Not really, because those 2 accidents that happened on the same month and on the same day, just 26 years apart, in my mind, were both preventable. It's been 8 years since this disaster occurred, and to this day, the Frankford Junction Wreck remains as one of the worst disasters on the Northeast Corridor since the 1987 Chase, Maryland incident, which killed 16 people and injured 170 more.